All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Health Accelerator Challenges. I am your host today, Kate Archibald, and along with me, we got Jenny Iyer. Jenny, how you doing?
Doing well today. How are you?
Doing really well. And so we're going to be jumping in here in just a little bit, and I know Reagan's planning on joining us today as well. Last week, we went through Reagan went through some essentialism specifics. So kind of cutting out what's not necessary in life and really focusing on what's important and what's serving you well. And let's see, it looks like he is ready to join us. I'm going to get him added here, but so let us know how the challenge went for you last week. Reagan, how's it going?
Great.
Awesome. Well, we are live and we got everybody on here really excited. We were just talking about last week's Health Accelerator Challenge on essentialism. And what was the exact challenge that we had put out there?
The challenge was to take an inventory of your overall health and life and figure out what's essential and what's not, and do more of the essentials and do less of the non-essentials.
All right. So pretty much just exactly what essentialism is. Just
practice it. Put it into practice.
Practice essentialism. Love it. All right. Yeah. Well, awesome. Type into the chat box. I'm going to make sure that is all opened up for everyone. Looks like it's all up. So yeah, type into the chat box how your challenge went last week and how all your essentializing your life went, for lack of a better term.
Essentialize your life. I think that's cool. Essentialize your life. New tagline, kid.
There we go.
Cool. Well, good. And tomorrow we've got the retreat coming up. So a lot of very exciting things coming on. I've got a physical copy of my newest book. This is not going to be the final version of the cover. A picture of me super sunburned.
I like it.
Yeah, but the book is, it turned out I couldn't be happier. So I can't wait to be able to share it with everyone on here today. And tomorrow, for those of you who are coming to the longevity retreat, we're kicking things off. Be there a little before 9 because we've got a packed agenda for you. Shayna's like making her own egg bite. Shayna's the company chef. I mean, she's actually, Hillary does the cooking classes, but Shayna actually, she's the most consistent feeding us. She's great. And how did the cooking class go last week, Jenny?
It was so awesome. A lot of people on here joined, but we did a Valentine's Day cooking class. We did surf and turf. So we made salmon, broiled salmon, steaks, and then we did a beet salad, and Hillary cut the beets as hearts. So it was really cute. And then we made lava cake, and it was like incredible. So if anyone made it, comment in the box.
Yeah, let's hear about that. That's awesome.
It was really good.
That is phenomenal. Holy cow. And so if you guys were able to make that, hopefully you enjoyed it. But we're going to have some great food at the event. We'll have great lunch. And I know a few of you are coming, and so we're excited. We actually ended up having 2 spaces open up last minute, and so one of those is now filled, and I'm really excited she's coming. And then we got 1 space left. So if you'd like to join us, and tomorrow is free for you, then just plug it in the chat box, and we'd love to have you there. But let's jump in for today. Did I miss anything as far as headlines go or announcements?
No, we got them all covered. We're ready to rock.
Okay, so today's going to be it's really important because I've made a kind of this concept, and I'll be sharing it tomorrow a little bit too. And I'm gonna share with everybody a new way to think about the next 10 years. And so Annie has this is literally, we barely got this hot off the press. This is our next 10-year format, and I apologize. I'm pulling it up right now, but I'm going to share my screen with everybody here. And what we're going to do is just a fun exercise where we think of what would you like your next 10 years to look like? And this at East West is one of the most important things. I was talking to a patient today, and he's been looking for a regenerative medicine clinic for 5 years, and he's talked to all the clinics in Panama and Mexico, and clinics in the United States, and actually 3 of our patients told him, three independent people told him about East West, and so he said, well, it sounds like this is the place I need to go, and I'm so glad I found you. And I said, well, first of all, before I work with anybody, we look out for your future. Nobody's looking out for your future, but our goal is to make your next 10 years the healthiest 10 years. And we understand there's pitfalls along the way and things like that. But as I explained it to him, he said, that's exactly what I'm looking for. All my doctors do is blame it on my age. And he's 73. He turns 74 in just a couple days. And it's all just like it gets put back on age. And by the way, aging is a serious disease. It's a serious condition. So I'm not downplaying it. It might be the most, it probably is the biggest threat that we all have is aging, but there's more to it. Jenny, why do you think it is that, so much of health conditions gets dismissed as just chalk it up to old age?
It's really kind of an interesting social construct that we have. And it's something that I wish wasn't true. And I think that we're doing a good job changing it at East West Health, but just like everything that happens to you negative in your health, they chalk it up to aging. They just blame it on aging. Well, you're getting old, so you just have to learn to live with it. I hate that. Like, I'm 26 and people have told me that. And there's always a solution.
At the age of 26, they've said,
yeah. Like, I was 19 and I had hip problems as a college athlete. And I remember them saying, like, well, you are getting older and it could just be your bones are worn out. I'm like, I'm 19 years old.
That sounds like I'm too busy to think about it.
Exactly.
And we had one of you, I know, Georgia, she's been very vocal about this. So I'm going to share her success story because she's here and I just want to give her some props. But she was just chatting today. She did 3 push-ups, and that is so impressive. But her grandson came back from the military and was just raving about how good she looks. She's younger. She's cruising up the stairs. So, and Georgia, you are fighting back against this thing called aging. And Georgia literally looks, 5, maybe 6 years younger right now than she did even a year ago. So I'm really proud of her. And so hats off to you and many of you on this is, there's just so many great breakthroughs that you've made. And so that's our core philosophy. And if we just look out 10 years, it's less overwhelming than if we're going like, okay, what's it going to be like at age 100 or 120? And that feels a little daunting. So we're going to go through this and I want you to think about these kind of mindsets, because it's really, if you think about what you want your future to look like, and many of you know this, that's actually, you create the future based on what you think it's going to be. And so the very first category is best lifestyle. So I put these in different categories, and then these first 3 categories are really critical, in my opinion. And once again, anyone could make this form and use your own ideas, your own opinions. which is great. But I think of lifestyle, and I think of health when it comes to having the best lifestyle, having energy generation, and then fun experiences. And so when you think of lifestyle, and then we're going to draw a line, and then we're going to say, okay, how do we score this so that we know we're on track to making the next 10 years your best 10 years? And then how do you give yourself permission? Because so many times we want better health, but we don't give ourselves permission to do that. And so we're going to give you guys permission today to start thinking about your next 10 years. So, so the very first column is your best lifestyle. So what are your best longevity habits and skills? And so if you go to Health Essentials, you know, and this is what we talked about last week, which is where we're feeding it in today. But Jenny, what would you say if you looked at your lifestyle from a health perspective, and that, you know, would include nutrition, exercise primarily, but what are some of your habits right now and skills that you think are going to help you live really long and healthy?
Yeah, so daily exercise, good nutrition, getting water intake up every day, spending time focusing on gratitude or some form of meditation, spending time with my family, because at the end of the day, that's what I do everything for. It's my family and the relationships that I carry.
Yeah.
And I would say getting outside. Like I have to get outside at least 15 minutes a day.
I love that. Okay.
Would you add anything to that, Reagan? What are your essentials?
Yeah. I'll jump into mine, but I want to comment on yours real quick because, you know, your relationship essentials, your family. And so Jenny's a mother, as many of you know, and an amazing mother, but so you've got your internal family, you know, your husband and your son, and hopefully more babies coming soon. Nudge, nudge. And then you've got your, you know, your external family, you know, and so that's really key. I would say some of the relationships you've got are your team. Like we all love the work you do and having the chance to interact with you. And then the patients. I mean, there's just a lot of cool things as you start layering it in that that you've got. And then a couple of the mindset, you know, gratitude, meditation. I know you've got amazing faith. And so like prayer, faith, that's a big mindset essential for you, that spirituality. And actually I had spirituality here before, but you know, some people don't really understand. I didn't want to have some context that was missing, but for those of you who love spirituality, I think it's probably everyone on this, but mindset it's like, if you have a mindset that there's a higher purpose, a higher power, there's some, you know, there's some guiding principles in the universe, then that fits into mindsets, just so everybody knows. So I wanted to bring that up. But these are all amazing things. Anything else you'd want to add to that? And then I can share some of mine too.
No, I think those are like the daily, I have to at least get those things in. I think I can always add to it. And some days I do when I have the time, but those are things that I have to have each day, basic.
Yeah, love it. And then feel free, everybody on this, plug it in the chat box. And Jenny, I could actually, I'm going to see if I can plug this into, let me see if I can plug this into the chat box. I'm learning how to do this somewhat, but I'll plug that in. So you know, my longevity habits, similar to yours, I'd say one of the things that I think I'll always do is some kind of cold exposure, breathing. One of the things that I just got is a new device that can test respiratory function. So your inspiration. So how much lung capacity do you have in expiration? That's really important as you age, because our diaphragm actually gets weaker and our intercostal muscles. And so breathing deeply and forcing an exhale is a really important thing. And even like Dan Sullivan uses altitude mask. So it's a breathing restriction mask. So it's as if he's exercising at, 10,000 feet, 11,000 feet, 12,000 feet. So he's putting a lot of pressure on his lungs. And I think that's a brilliant thing. And you can pick them up on Amazon for, $20, $30. You can look at the breathing device I've got. Next time you're in the clinic, we'll be using it more. So we'll have you guys test your lung capacity. But those are some things that I'm always working on, because just by breathing, and there's a new study that came out that they found that that being able to do full expirations, and if you can expire slowly, it resets the parasympathetic nervous system. And so, we already know breathing is really powerful, but now there's some new research that's just showing how powerful it is. And that's one of the things. And then in my relationships, I always love meeting new people and being useful for as many people as possible. And so, one of the skills I'm always trying to learn is how can I be useful in this relationship? So yeah, those are some things I'm looking at. And so what are your best lifestyles? Everyone on this, we'd love to hear from you. And I was going to post it, and then we started talking. So let's go to energy generators. And Jenny, while I'm posting this, maybe you could go through energy generators, and you can even ask Kate, or you can share your own things that you do to generate energy.
Yeah, absolutely. So energy generators, which is, I love that phrase, but just ways literally to generate energy in your life. Most enjoyable activities, the one that I think of, I love running. I've always loved running. I love just going for hours and hours, but I was finding that a lot of the time I would get home and I was just completely exhausted and depleted. So I'd spent all of my energy on that run. And even though it felt great, I didn't have that energy for the rest of the day. So I've had to learn that other forms of exercise mixed in with that actually generate energy to where I'm not completely exhausted for the rest of the day. So strength training has been a big focus of mine over the last 16 months since I've had my son. I've had to do a lot of rehab. And I feel like I gain a lot of energy from strength training versus running. I felt pretty depleted after. So a good mix of that, I think, has been good for me. Some enjoyable activities, like what brings life into my life. I love cooking for my family and like sitting down at the end of the day and all enjoying a meal. That gives me life and energy. I'm trying to think of things that I do more regularly. Creativity, I know that's one Reagan has touched on more so at the beginning of this year, but quilting for me is fun.
Cool.
Creating something out of nothing. So yeah, those are things. Most enjoyable people, obviously, my family, my husband, my son, he's 16 months old, so he can be draining, but he also, he gives me a purpose. And I think when you have a purpose in life, you find more energy and reason to do things. And personal growth, Reagan hit it right on the nose. Purpose as a mom.
Sorry, you just said that, so yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I really do love what I do. I love working with patients. For most of my life, I thought I was kind of an introvert, but I've learned that working with patients, I just love connecting with people. And I think something that gives me energy is that connection, not just like surface level relationships, but those deep connections where you can meet a stranger and you guys, by the end of the visit, you just feel like you're siblings or best friends and you could talk for hours. So those are the things that give me energy, I would say.
I love that. Awesome. And so I would ask you guys on this, plug in what do you love about your life? Because if you think of energy, you look at your health and it's really hard to feel healthy if you don't have any energy. Just like you were able to identify, if I go on this really long run, I feel a sense of accomplishment, but then I'm drained for 5 hours afterwards. And I actually experienced the same thing when I was deep into running. It was a trade-off, right? It was like, man, I get that endorphin high, but there's a trade-off. And I think you've discovered, as I have, like finding different workouts like a HIIT or strength training, where it's not quite as long. It feels like I'm cheating a little bit, but I have way better energy.
Yeah. Well, then you feel better on the run the day you do run, because you built
Yes,
up.
so true. And so this is, as I think about energy generators, it's like the things in life that you love the most. And that's something that I think every one of us, need to take inventory of often. And it's an essential thing. The things that we don't love might not be the essential things that we need to take with us in the next 10 years, because it's kind of like cleaning out your house. If you're going to move into a new house and have a nicer experience, you got to get rid of some of the old stuff. And it's no different in our life. There's some habits that a lot of us pick up along the way. And as Dan Sullivan said, we're all 100% disciplined to our existing set of habits. So if you have poor habits or great habits, you're all disciplined to it. So it's not discipline we're lacking. It's just, what are the habits we want to let go of? And that's one of the things that this energy generator, best lifestyle, fun experiences, this gives you inventory. So fun experiences 10 years from now. And Kate, I think this would be fun to see what you got, but 10 years from now, what 3 things would you love to have happen in your life?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So 10 years from now, yes.
10 years from now, pick up Reagan. That's so cool that you want that in your life. That'd be awesome.
No, especially how often I'm up in Salt Lake. I live like 3 minutes from the airport. I can at least get a plane. Doesn't necessarily have to be a jet, because I wouldn't be able to fly it, but yeah. I could get my own plane that I can fly, and my wife will let me get my pilot's license. Ooh, that would be awesome. Let's see. I want to continue to go to Lake Powell. That's something with family, friends. That is like one of my favorite places to go and funnest experiences is at Lake Powell. I think we need to do another trip to Revelstoke sometime, or maybe a different ski town or ski resort. It doesn't necessarily have to be Revelstoke, but maybe Whistler, something like that.
Yep.
So like some cool ski trips. Let's see. Yeah. So like boating, and then we never took Dad mountain biking at Whistler. We got shut down by COVID.
COVID struck.
So we need to do a few more of those.
Yeah. Love it. Beautiful. Yeah. So those are all fun experiences. So what happens to your thinking when you start imagining doing these activities, kid?
You feel really open and just like exhilarated and just like pumped, really happy.
Awesome. Yeah. Jenny, were you thinking of some things as you went through that, or like some cool, fun experiences you want to have in the next 10 years?
I mean, I was impressed with Cade's, to be honest with you. Cade, did you watch Maverick? Were you inspired by Top Gun?
Yeah. Yes. Actually, it's something that I've talked about I had a friend that had his pilot's license, and then we have a brother-in-law that he has 2 different planes that he'll fly around. They're like little Cessnas, nothing too crazy, but it would be so nice for me because I drive or I'll fly up to Salt Lake so often, and I'm either, if I fly, I'm at the whim of Delta Airlines, which I don't like that. And if I drive, it's a 4-hour drive and it's just a lot of sitting. And so it would be so nice to just cruise up there, not have to deal with traffic. And yeah, so that's always been like a little side conversation that Reagan and I are always having, is like, we got to get a plane to go between St. George and Salt Lake.
Yeah. And then you can fly all of our patients to the retreats.
Yeah, there we go. We'll get anyone from St. George. We'll fly on up.
Have a little
pretty rad
East-West logo on the plane.
Yeah, that should be on our 10-year company.
That needs to be
there it is.
I need to do this for the company. We need to just
East-West company jet.
Yeah.
That one can be a jet.
Cool.
How many of you would like us to pick you up in our jet? We do need funding for this project, but forget about that, right?
Hey, we got some hands going up on that one for sure.
Yeah, or for the locals, we'll get a cool bus or like a limo or something.
A shuttle.
Anyways, that was kind of a tangent, but I really liked Kate's. And I can't think of anything cooler than that. So
no, I think these are great, but and I would encourage everybody to do that because you get a lot of energy, and this is the whole thing in longevity. Nobody wants to do it if they're bored out of their mind, if they aren't having any experiences to look forward to. But sometimes when you have really good health, day-to-day life becomes super enjoyable. And so I'm not saying let's look for some external things to, feed you with this false sense of energy. But it actually helps you prepare for things in the future. Because if Cade's going to keep doing skiing and mountain biking and boating, well, he's going to have to keep his body healthy. And so it gives him another reason, just another personal reason. And I think recreation and hobbies is such a powerful part of life. And so that's why we've got fun experiences. Okay, so did everyone get best lifestyle? And when you think of lifestyle, what are those longevity habits and skills that you've got that you want to keep bringing with you? Energy generators, what do you love about your life? And then, fun experiences 10 years from now, what 3 things would you love to have happen? These cool experiences you've had. And I will go to Japan in the next 10 years. That was another COVID thing. I had a dream come true, and I was asked to
I forgot about that.
In Japan. I had Japan and I had Amsterdam. I had my international speaking circuit, and that got taken out. And so at some stage I will go to Japan in the next 10 years. It's on my list. So okay, so now let's go and we'll say, okay, scoring process and giving permission. So we're gonna put things all into perspective here. And by the way, we've got the next 10 years, best 10 years. Did that get posted correctly? Kate and Jenny, are you guys able to download that form?
I was able to download it, yeah.
And is it fillable?
Is it fillable? That is a good question. Let's look here.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
All right, I did it. Okay,
Kate, right.
Good job. It's I appreciate that, Kate. I think that was last week you helped me with that, and here we are. All right, so let's go to the next one, which is scoring progress. So what are the things you're going to do to make sure you're staying on track? Because if you're not measuring your longevity and if you're not super intentional about it, it's just not going to happen. And I can tell you that the older that we get, the more investment and the more energy we need to put into our health. And so I have a lot of people who, they finished their first program with us and they're like, all right, I made it, I'm there. And it's like, actually, this is just the beginning, because now we've removed the interferences, we've got rid of deficiencies. Now you've got the momentum. And so your job is to keep that, because as we age, we have more and more headwind that we have to confront. And so the scoring piece of things is where we say, okay, that was a fun exercise, but now how are we going to get there? So this is where the skeptic in all of us will come up and say, man, I don't know about this. But, Georgia is a living proof of the fact that we can get younger and we can get stronger no matter what's going on in our life. So the very first thing from a health essentials is, what are the internal labs, functional assessment, scans and imaging that you need to get done every year, and sometimes more often than every year. I like to run my labs every 3 or 4 months. And it's very interesting because I can see different fluctuations in my labs. and based on what I'm doing. And so it gives me a really good framework that I can look back on, in 10, 20 years from now. I can say, all right, this is how my biology works best. And so I'd encourage everybody to do that. And so, this is where at the core, if you just said, well, all I can do is one thing, and then I would say, well, get your blood work ran. And the blood labs are absolutely critical. And then, there's advanced imaging, and Cade and Go Wellness, we've got Steve Marler and his company, Advanced Imaging out of Texas, is a place you can go and get a full body scan. And that will be at some stage in the next probably 2 years. We'll have collaboration with him in bringing that technology right here into Utah so that you can do early detection. We've got a new lab that we've just introduced at East West, and that lab is called Gallery. And it's a really impactful lab that will show you all the pre-screening for cancer. And so it will show you cancer screenings 4 years before they ever show up. And so this is there's new technology that we're bringing in. There's metabolomics, there's your stool test. These things are all really important. So the other markers is, from a relationship essentials, how many number of positive relationships do you have in your life right now? And I think it's a really meaningful thing as you start looking at, go through your texts and say, who have I been texting most recently? Who have I been calling? What are these positive relationships I have? And just count those. Kate or Jenny, do you guys know what Dunbar's law is? It's
the one where it's the 5 people closest to you are the ones you'll. I don't know.
You're the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with.
I think that's a Tim Ferriss quote or someone super smart, and I believe that Dunbar's law is just essentially humans. We have about 150 relationships that we're nurturing at any one time, and really our brains just can't go to. I mean, we can have kind of these, more arm's length relationships with more people than that. But really the way that we used to roam was in tribes of 150, roughly 150 people. And Dunbar's law just shows that at any one time, almost every human has about 150 relationships going on, which is kind of interesting to think of. And so what if you had those relationships and you said, what can I do to nurture those relationships on a continual basis that is essential? It's not essential, And so that's something that just to give you guys some framework. And then if you go back to those positive ones and you say, well, here's the relationships that are the most positive. And then just like Jenny and Cade were saying, 5 positive relationships changes your life. You just feel so much more nurtured and happy. And so yeah.
And I would just add to that. I was speaking with one of our patients, Jonathan, and a couple months ago, he's like, well, I'm in my 60s and I'm just happy. I'm just looking to maintain where I'm at. And then today I spoke with him and he was like, you know what? I've met with Tristan, I've met with Reagan, and these are the things that I want to improve. And he just had this total mindset shift. And I would just argue too, like, positive relationships are the ones with your providers. They should feel like friendships. They should push you to be better. They shouldn't just be saying, well, like, let's just maintain your health at this stage of your life, or you look fine, let's just leave it. You know what I mean? So I would argue that that's a really important positive relationship as well.
I love that, because I think that is so critical, because that's like, you think about your best relationships that you have, it's people that, like, you want to elevate yourself to their level, whether that's, personally, professionally, or whatever it is. And they uplift you and make you want to do better and do better things, and not necessarily make you feel less than, but just always, they continue to inspire you. Like that's, I think about like my parents, and it's not like I'm trying to chase after what they have, but it's also like I really, they make me want to do cooler things and be better at whatever I'm working on. So yeah, I think those are cool relationships.
Yeah. And then the next one is new things learned and experienced. So, this is where learning, and especially with AI, I mean, I've had a blast with the cool Chat GPT, all the applications there. And so I just look at that. I'm like, now we can learn more selective information, faster, better, easier, cheaper. I mean, there's never been a better time to be alive, but we are, now at the precipice of a brand new capability and a brand new opportunity of learning. And so I see this as just massive. So, what are the new things you want to learn? And then find an enjoyable way to learn it. And so I'm always interested in, obviously, science and technology and peptides and regenerative medicine. I love learning about that, but I also love studying philosophy. I've loved studying art. I love the way that, I have a couple of patients who are artists, and I love to understand the creative process. And so, these are things that you can have right in there in this new things learned and experienced. And so, so these are the markers that you can stay on track, which is where you're always taking inventory of how much progress you're making when it comes to your next 10 years. And then on this final category, I call it giving permission. And giving permission, I think, is and everyone says, well, I don't need permission from anyone. I'm in charge of me. It's my life. And it's like, well, how many of you have actually given yourself permission to do some of the energizing things you want to do? Now that we've gone through this exercise and this thinking tool, how many of you are looking at that and saying, man, I just really haven't given myself permission to get rid of the things that aren't helpful in my life? Maybe it's like I've never actually given myself permission to not eat sugar, or never given myself permission to take a lunch break and actually have a really enjoyable experience with food. How many of you are just like, you're thinking of this permission that you've never given yourself to reach out to those relationships that were really positive in the past, and bring them into the present, and take that relationship with you in the future. Kate, my friend Dusty, one of my best friends growing up, actually called him on the way up, because as I was creating this tool, of course, I'm doing this tool with you guys. This is more of a thinking tool for Reagan than anything. So I'm like, I need to call Dusty. And so I called him driving up the canyon today. And so it's just like, think about these things. But how many of you actually had there's some things that you've given yourself permission to do that you wouldn't have otherwise if you didn't spend the time today thinking about this? So now let's go through these. So what are 3 energizing things? And this can be activities, this can be relationship building, this can be learning, this can be mindsets. But how many of you can think of 3 things that you want to do in the next 90 days? And you just need to give yourself permission. And mine was, I want to reach out to Dusty. that was the first thing in the relationships. I need to call my grandma more. Verla, Kate, she's going to be 91 this year. It's like, wow, she won't be around too much longer, relatively speaking. And so, It's just like, these are big things for me.
Yeah, I think one for me is definitely going on more bike rides with Dad.
Yeah. Anything come up for you, Jenny, on any of these?
Andrew, my husband, and I have been really trying to schedule date nights. Because it's so hard.
That is so challenging, but do it.
Hard. So, and you know what? His grandparents love watching him. And I don't know, like we're cultivating positive relationships all around. I was never close to any of my grandparents. And so I'm able to give Evan that gift. And then I get to take a break and spend time with Andrew, which we never do. So that's always a goal of ours.
Awesome. Well, good. Well, give yourself permission. Twice a week is great for date nights. I mean, if you got childcare, that's it's such a relief. win-win. I know on mine, on the mindset essentials, and just looking at, kind of this is I want to create a better relationship with AI so that I can actually get better, higher quality content and work done in shorter amounts of time, so that then I can free myself up. I've learned how to ski this year. Kate, you should see me on skis. I finally hit the flow. I know how to ski now. Now that we have all the powder, I had to learn how to ski powder. I'm more of a snowboarder. I love snowboarding, but I've actually became a really good skier. And so I just want to keep improving that. And then Jess and I did cross-country skiing for the first time on Sunday, and it was amazing. So
that's awesome.
So yeah, I've given myself permission to actually be a skier, and it's different than I'm a snowboarder and I just ski because I live close to Deer Valley. Now it's like, oh no, I'm a skier. So I gave myself permission, and I think I'm looking pretty good out there from where I came from anyway.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's funny you say that, because I think Sierra saw a post where you were skiing or something like that. And that was exactly what I said, because she's like, oh, so does Reagan ski? I was like, yeah, he skis occasionally, because it's like, Deer Valley's right up the street from him, and it's the closest resort to his house. And she's like, oh, I get that. But now I'm going to have to actually say you're a skier.
Yes, skier and a snowboarder. Still a better snowboarder, but I'm catching up. So yeah, I think these are going to be some fun things that I want to bring into the next 10 years, but let's look at your longevity future, and this will just kind of rapid fire. But in a year from now, just put your age. How old will you be? So I'll be in my 45th year, and it's like, okay, what do I want that to look like? What's that year goal? And these are just kind of takeaways. So I'm going to put this into action. And so I'd say, well, I'm going to be a better skier. I'm going to go on mountain biking trips, and like do some real stuff. We got to take Dad to Whistler, so that would be my year. Then I say 5 years, what am I looking at? Well, I think 5 years from now, I think if Kate's not flying, then I will. Kate and I are, we'll have our wives talked into it in the next 5 years is kind of what I'm thinking.
I think that's going to be the hardest one.
If we can just be super annoying where they're like, I don't care if you die, then that's really the goal. So we need to not nurture that relation. That's not an essential.
Perfect.
Okay, I guess this is we've deviated from the
for those listeners. The few times I've gone in a private plane, my wife has like lost her mind, because she in her head, she thinks it's going down. Like that's just that is what her mind tells her every time I'm in like a private, like a small Cessna type plane. So that's the sales job I got to get done over the next 5 years, apparently.
Yes. I'm going to own the peptide pipeline so that all of our international patients, so we have predictability in that process. And we are in motion on that. And then the 10-year plan, I'm not sure what it will look like, but I do know that there's going to be AI and tech and new testing. I just want to be an early adopter so that I can let you guys know what to do and what not to do. So as you go through this, I think everybody has a chance to, kind of think about where you want your life to go. Mary says, tell her you want a helicopter. There we go. Just get a helicopter. That makes it easier.
That sounds way more dangerous. But maybe it's not. I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah, we do have one of our members in the program who does have one. So I'll have to ask him. He's got both. So
nice.
Could be interesting. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this today. Kate and Jenny, what were some of your takeaways from this new thinking tool inspired by Dan Sullivan, as many of mine are?
I love this tool. I think it's a really fun way to just look at the future Jenny was mentioning, we have that, she talked to that patient that's got new, bigger goals, especially if someone's like kind of stagnant, not thinking about, what they can do with their health. But then you start looking at, what creates energy for you, what you want to be doing, what activities. And then it's like, oh, I got to step up my game. I got to do more with my health so that I can continually be able to do this for forever.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I would say the biggest takeaway for me is energy generators, because I think there are things that we love in life that pull energy from us, like running was for me. And so maybe looking at some of those things and either decreasing the amount that we do those things or partake of those things and increasing something that gives us energy, and then giving yourself permission to do that. Like, it's okay. You don't, because I think part of that for me was shifting my identity. And that was really difficult for me to say, like, I don't run 60 miles a week. I only run 15 or 10. So maybe there's part of your identity that you have to shift and give yourself permission to have more energy in your life.
Man, I love that. And if you think about it, Jenny, when you show a lot of generosity to yourself and giving permission, it's so much easier to give that generosity to other people.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Man. Well, this has been awesome. Well, I appreciate everyone being part of the community. So thanks you guys for being part of this.
Nice. Well, we will see you same time, same place next week, and really appreciate you guys joining in. Awesome. We'll see everybody.
Bye-bye.